I have a regret from our last discussion that I didn't vote no with you, because you were exactly on point on what was happening. And for me to vote yes is like saying, I'm going to agree to 5 more years, up to 5 years of more harassment on the mountain. And, I want to thank Mr. Perez, who came up and called me out on that yes vote. Shame on me. That's right. For not thinking. Actually, when I voted yes, shortly thereafter, I turned to Rebecca and go, I should have voted no. And when, we had testifiers come up and talk about this is immoral, unethical. I think that was Becky that said that too. That's true. I feel that, and I should know better. Auntie Noi Noi Wong Wilson said that, accepting the money is unconscionable and immoral, an immoral action, and we need to take a bold step.
To me, the underlying issue is how we got here. And how we got here is not pono, in my mind. And we are doing things after the fact, and I have to kind of think that, are we covering something, or is this something we're going to set a precedence for? That government, as long as the reasons seem okay, or there's an urgency, that we ignore our laws and our process. And so while I'm listening to everybody's concerns, for me, I think we got the money already. I agree. The bill should be for what we already received.
My position is I'm very, very much supportive of the TMT project. But more so, I'm supportive of the rule of law. And there might be people who disagree with me. They might say that the law is unjust. As far as I can tell, it is the law. And if I saw some efforts in trying to open up the road, but not just the TMT people, but others, then I might be more amenable to something like this. I just don't see anything happening. But that being the case, I have to vote against this.
I guess I just want the administration to stop treating the council like a rubber stamp. I feel like all the time we are getting agreements after the fact and just have to go through the motions of approval. And so maybe we're going to have to take a look at some adjustments to the code or the charter. But at the end of the day, it's very clear that the council and the community want information. And so the administration needs to keep this in mind, I think, going forward before putting anything in front of us, because we're going to ask for the details. So save yourselves the trouble and just provide us the information. Something that Ms. Leloy said, and I agree with, that we've said all the time, is we need information to make fully informed decisions, because we have to be accountable to the public, right? That's who we represent and who we work on behalf of. And so if the administration had put something else before us, such as getting reimbursed for the 4.5 million, I'd be more comfortable with that. And Joe said, you said it's legally possible to make that happen. So I'm hoping that you're going to work on an amendment to these measures. But I'm not okay with signing off on the 10 million, because as Chair Chung pointed out, it is a blank check. No end in sight, no plan for how we move forward, what the money is going to be used for. And I think 5 years is too long to figure that out. It's way too long. Chair Chung and I, we'd like plans. The legislature, they're going to be convening in a month or so. They're going to want a clear pathway for how we move forward before they put any more money into this. And I have to agree with that.
This is not an easy situation. We need the reimbursement. We desperately need that. But I also want this thing to move forward, and status quo is not what we need to do. So we have to make a change, and we have to make it, it's going to be a difficult change. So with that, I'm going to yield, Chair. Some interesting points are brought up on a procedural note, but we do need the reimbursement.
I'm disappointed and I'm a little bit embarrassed by the inadequate explanations from our Corp Counsel. And I continue to be told in this position not to take things personally. So I hope, Joe, you won't take that personally.
Never.
Thank you. But it's baffling to me. And yet there have been a number of decisions made within the administration and leadership of this county in the last few months that myself and a lot of constituents find baffling. The fact that there was no authorization by the council for the mayor and the rest of the members of the administration to enter in this agreement has me questioning why, essentially, I go back to like a kid would say, well, then why are they above the law? You know, I've only been in office a year, but one of the consistent messages that continues to be presented is a lack of trust for the administration.
I've heard suggestions about amending the resolution. I put on the table, if we're going to amend the resolution, we're going to have to amend the bill. Staff is blowing up my phone on where they need to be going if we're going to be hearing something. And if nobody's ready, let's postpone to the next meeting because we will have had time to have listened to one another, formulate some amendments, and move forward.
In this case, taking what we've spent from the state, and yes, it is our taxpayer dollars coming right back to us in the form of a gift. But we will not, and there will not be a lesson learned from this. And those who feel wronged can feel better that we didn't enter into the MOA, but we're still not learning anything from this. We didn't listen. We haven't listened, and only now are we beginning to speak up. So in this conundrum I kind of see us put in, it's do we teach the lesson, which Ms. Leloy is always very apt to say. Is this a teaching moment for the administration? We say no, and now we are forced to figure out on our own where to come up with all the money? Or do we say we want to accept what we already spent? And in no moment do I ever consider taking more to consider this for 5 years, and I never did, and I will not. So I think that's what that body has to do today, is decide whether we want to amend or whether we want to just say no to the resolution in the bill.
The first problem for me right now is that the resolution and the MOA don't even match. One is the resolution is a grant. It then cites an MOA, but in order to make them merge, we have to jump through a lot of unknowns. And we also have to agree to an MOA that gives us a 5-year period. There's nothing in either one that talks about $10 million, so that's a different, that's the bill.
Yeah.
I don't, and we have already been reimbursed for outstanding costs that were invoiced. So I would say we either don't take action, like was suggested, or we vote no on these two things until they come together as something. If we don't, we may not even need this.
I think we need something.
We may need something.
Under HR. It's just that, I mean, I've seen this happen in the past where people don't pay attention to HRS, you know, and, you know, we really want to, you know, it's not the easiest statute to deal with at times, so.
And you could gut it, quite frankly, and then, you know, add different language in there just to accept whatever amounts have been brought forward by the state. But I think the better way to do it is just vote this down and come up with a new resolution.
I'm going to be urging my colleagues to let's just say no, move on, and restart.
On the motion to adopt Resolution 403, Mr. Chung?
No.
Ms. David?
No.
Mr. Connie Kleinfelder? No. Ms. Kirkowitz?
No.
Ms. Leloy? Ms. Poindexter?
No.
Mr. Richards? No. Ms. Villegas? No. Cherry off?
No.
Chair, if you don't have any votes in favor.
Okay, thank you.